Working on the biggest fan has been a really enjoyable experience. It all began with feasibility studies commissioned by Manukau City Council for major events during the Rugby World Cup. This was part of their Heart of the Nation, or what ended up being Heart of the Nation. From there, the biggest fan came about as a monster idea. An application was put in by Manukau City Council into Real New Zealand Festival. And during this time, Manukau City Council actually merged with the Super City, so everything came together under Auckland City Council banner. We were successful through the Real New Zealand funding, and they very generously put in some money towards the Heart of the Nation project, of which the biggest fan is part. So in April 2011, we all got going.
When you start any creative process, I think it's really good to have a drawing of any description, whether it's a masterful hand or not. The ideas need to be really well communicated. So I went to Flux Animation, and Alan Cochrane, who's head of design, I knew he'd nail the character of Junior instantly.
An essential part of the team was Phil Gregory. He was charged with taking the concept of Junior and actually building it and to make it real.
Phil's an exceptionally talented man. He is a master props maker. Metal, wood, fiberglassing, that's his medium.
We took our inspiration from recent giant marionettes that have been created, such as the Little Girl Giant, which was built by Royal Deluxe Theatre Company and notably performed in 2009 in Berlin. But we were going to be quite different from that, so we decided to start with a 1/3 scale model where we'd work out the logistics and the mechanics.
The main reason for building a marquette is so you can really kind of nut out movement, shape, structure, anything sort of mechanical that you can see might come up as an issue. Early on, I thought it was really important to bring in a master puppeteer. Jonathan Acorn's part to play in this is absolutely vital. He's got a real understanding of a marionette puppet. The stringing, the movements, the beauty and the grace.
As soon as you give it that power, it becomes a living entity.
To be honest, he was the only person I thought of, because he's so passionate about puppets.
The build had only just begun, but now we had to build a team of performers. So we looked at what we really wanted in essence from these performers, which was essentially teamwork was the most important. And then following that, they had to have a real enthusiasm for the project.
Jonathan Acorn is absolutely mad, and he brought along all these puppets for the audition. But before he got all the puppets out, he got people to do this kind of warm-up exercise where there all had to be a machine, and it was hilarious.
One of the hardest things is getting a really cohesive teamwork, and we got that today. We had this brilliant team of people that just gelled in every way possible. Especially with the marquette. The challenge was, okay everybody, let's see if we can make it come to life. And by Jove, we did. In a relatively crude way, but it came to life.
At first we were just, individuals, and now we got down there and all played with the strings as a team. And so, yeah, it was interesting experience. New for me.
Well, we're pulling each other's strings at the moment. And I think that's where it starts.
Any worries? Scared stiff. Totally. But I like that.
As soon as possible, the build was started, and luckily for us, Phil had already had several months to think about the project before beginning. That said, the timeline from here was incredibly tight. While Phil was building the marquette, Bex began carving the polystyrene, which was really giving form and character to what Junior would become.
Rebecca, she's an amazing sculptor, incredible work ethic and a good person to have around. Her skill level is incredible, as is with Hannah. First job in the business was with Hannah. She's amazing as well. She's incredibly hardworking and professional. She's not afraid of kind of getting stuck in and doing the hard yards.
The build of his body and his structure is one thing, adding the clothing on top of that's another. A team of girls came from AUT and took all his measurements, and when they realised he had a 196 centimetre waist, I think they realised then they were onto something big.
I got 96.
Okay. So that was the first thing, was getting all the measurements. We then swatched all his fabrics, and the ones that we couldn't find, like a giant check, AUT, the Textile Design Lab, actually digitally printed onto fabric, so we were able to build a shirt. So North Sails, one of our biggest sail-making companies, have put all this top stitching on the jean. He's done this wonderful detail with this incredibly strong sail-making thread. So it's kind of, about 6 or 7 mils each stitch. He's got black and red socks as well, which are all custom made by the AUT Textile Laboratory, all knitted by AUT. Phil's build was absolutely running concurrently to our toiling process, which of course we'd planned.
Then remove the poly out of the centre so it's hollow and we can kind of put the mechanism inside.
One of my mother's oldest mates, Betty Fellows, lives in Te Puke. Visited her. I was telling her about the possibility of making a giant marionette puppet, and she said, I would like to make his scarf. I would love to make his scarf. I mean, she's a knitter from way back. Can't wait to see them. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Come down. Yeah, great.
Lovely to meet you.
Oh, wow. I said, look, I've got a lot of other ladies who I know would like to be involved. How big do you think a scarf would be? And I said, I reckon it's going to be at least 3 metres. 3 metres by, you know, this wide. So they were called the Te Puke aunties, and they put all the scarves together. Yeah. And they're really cool. They're like a garter stitch, homemade garter stitch.
Then the rehearsals began, and this was the first time that the puppeteers had a chance to work with the full-scale marionette. We started within Phil Gregory's workshop. It was a relatively small space, but the weather really wasn't on our side, and we had plenty to get on with.
So it's like that. The first rehearsal was coming to grips with the horror of trying to make this thing walk, and it's tripping and bumbling, and the speed of the Merlot, and coming to grips with lifting the feet. It was really quite heavy, and just coming to grips with every single aspect of it. The first rehearsal was scary. The second one was scary, still scary. By the time we got to 3 and 4, we were getting a handle on what needed to be done, and there was a shakedown of the puppeteers into who was best to pull which rope and how to sort it out.
Yeah, you're right.